On the day of my birthday, my husband, Liam, served me a divorce agreement. I have to take responsibility for her and our child. I frowned as I looked at the asset division inside. Liam, reading my expression, said coldly, "Don't worry. It's just a formality. We'll remarry as soon as the baby is born." Seeing my hesitation, he added with a hint of sarcasm, "Besides, it's not like we can have a child of our own. You get to be a mother without the pain. Isn't that a good thing?" But I didn't want a formality. I wanted a real divorce. Liam's face was grim as he held the file folder. His expression made me sit up straighter. "Can you sign this divorce agreement? I have to take responsibility for her and our child." He said it so casually, but every word was a knife to my heart, sudden and cold. I tried to process what he was saying. Divorce. Her. A child. But he gave me no time to breathe. "She's very difficult. If I don't get a divorce, she'll keep throwing tantrums. It's not good for the baby, and the company is preparing to go public. I can't have any negative press. I haven't asked you for anything all these years. Just consider this a favor." He was right. In our 5 years of marriage, I was always the one making demands. If I wanted him to take a vacation with me, he would book the trip. If I wanted him to come home early, he would stop going out at night. Whatever I wanted, he would buy it for me immediately. But this request, it was like a flood, engulfing me in an instant. When I had finally calmed down, he opened the folder and handed me the divorce agreement. His movements were so smooth, so cold and natural, as if he were just signing a contract with a business partner. I took it with a sneer, but when I saw the asset division, I frowned. His most valuable asset was his company, a promising start up that was about to go public. He had countless properties and cars, and a bank account with at least 9 figures. But in the agreement, all he was giving me was the small factory he had been trying to sell for years. The factory I had funded. The start of his entrepreneurial journey. I found it ironic. When we had first graduated, to raise money for his business, I had accepted a 3-year overseas assignment from my company. For 3 years, I had been filled with regret and despair. But every time I thought of the smile on his face when he achieved his dream, I found the courage to go on. I had been with him from the very beginning. And now, in our divorce, he was giving me nothing of our shared wealth. He watched me like a predator, observing my every move. Seeing the look on my face, he said, still in that cold tone, "Don't worry. It's just a formality." After a moment of silence, he added, "As soon as her baby is born, we'll remarry." I was shocked by his calculation. I looked up at him. "Remarry." He grunted in affirmation. "I promised you. You will be my only wife." His machinations made me sick to my stomach. Seeing my hesitation, he sneered. "Besides, it's not like we can have a child of our own. You get to be a mother without the pain. Isn't that a good thing?" I was stunned. My heart twisted into a knot, and I felt a pang of guilt. In all our years of marriage, he had always known where my weaknesses lay. His phone, on the table, continued to vibrate. She had been calling him repeatedly during our conversation, but he had hung up every time. Sensing the situation, I gestured for him to answer the phone and took the divorce papers, preparing to go to my room. As I walked past him, he grabbed my wrist. "Don't misunderstand. It's my assistant." I pulled my hand away and ignored his explanation. His face darkened. "You know, I've always loved children, but we've been married for 5 years. We've done all the tests. We've tried everything. You know your own body. So, you can't blame me for all of this." His phone started to vibrate again. He answered it impatiently. His assistant's voice on the other end was a little nervous. "Sir, when should I bring in the cake?" "What cake?" "Your wife's birthday cake. Every year, on my birthday, he would have his assistant go to my hometown and buy the birthday cake I had eaten since I was a child. An old-fashioned, cream-filled cake. The kind that was hard to find anymore. I glanced at my watch. My birthday had been over for almost an hour. Before, he would have had the cake brought in long ago. The moment I closed the door, he looked up, and our eyes met. It seems he had really forgotten. Back in my room, before I could even catch my breath, his mother called. After a few deep breaths, I answered, resigned. "I got you a fertility charm. I put it under your pillow. Keep it there. Don't break it." I lifted my pillow. A yellow talisman lay there. I sighed. Mom, didn't you promise not to come into our room without asking? She became agitated. That's my son's house. Why can't I go in? She then started to complain about all the doctors she had seen, all the folk remedies she had found for me over the years. Every word was a veiled accusation, blaming me for her not having a grandchild. My temples started to throb. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Liam and I are getting a divorce. I hung up. Less than 5 minutes later, she called back. Her voice was filled with an unconcealed glee. I just spoke to my son. I'm going to have a grandchild. Then she ordered, you'd better be sensible and sign the papers immediately. Divorce my son. Don't try to pull any tricks. If anything happens to my grandchild, I will not let you get away with it. Her sharp, shrill voice made me uncomfortable. After a few harsh coughs, she started to complain again. If it weren't for you, I would have had a grandchild long ago. I didn't want to listen to her anymore and hung up again. After a while, I got up from the bed. From the bottom of my nightstand, I took out a file folder. Looking at the medical report from a week ago, I let out a bitter smile. What tricks could I play? Ever since the hospital had diagnosed me as having difficulty conceiving 3 years ago, his mother had become a different person. She would sprinkle red dates and peanuts on me before I even got out of bed. She would take me to remote villages to see so-called miracle doctors, forcing me to drink their strange concoctions to get me to focus on getting pregnant. She had even gone to my company and caused a scene, forcing me to quit my job. I was exhausted, mentally and physically. I had asked him many times to talk to his mother, to give us some space, but he would always say, my mother is old. It's normal for her to want a grandchild. You should be more understanding. Besides, all you have to do is try to get pregnant. You don't have to do anything else at home. What's so stressful about that? We didn't fight often, but whenever we talked about children, his tone and expression always made me feel as if I had wronged them, wronged his family. I had no choice but to give in, time and time again. Calming down, I called my lawyer, Chloe. He finally asked for a divorce. Yes. Congratulations. I've already drafted the divorce papers you wanted. I'll send them to you tomorrow morning. As long as you can get him to sign, I guarantee he won't get a single penny. Chloe was a famous divorce lawyer and a good friend. I trusted her completely. After hanging up, I lay in bed, a wave of relief washing over me. How long had I been waiting? Just a week. A week ago, I had gone for a full physical. The report showed that my body was perfectly normal. The doctor had also said that I had no fertility problems. The previous diagnosis was likely a mistake. I had been so excited to go home and tell him the good news. He was in the shower, his phone on the nightstand. The constant buzzing of notifications had made me pick it up. A message had popped up on the screen. I'm pregnant. When are you going to divorce Audrey? My heart had skipped a beat. After steeling myself, I had unlocked his phone. He had registered my fingerprint. But this was the first time I had ever checked his phone. He had a secret messaging app, one I had never known about. Only one contact, with a matching cartoon couple profile picture. The chat history was completely empty. The other person was sending him message after message. You said you would give me and the baby a proper status. If you don't get a divorce, don't even think about this baby being born. Say something. You're not usually so quiet in bed. The sound of the shower and the constant buzzing of the phone. I was trembling uncontrollably. After receiving no reply, she had sent a voice message. Her voice was coquettish. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pressured you, but I'm just so worried. You said you love me the most. Were you lying? A wave of nausea washed over me. I marked the message as unread and put the phone back. She then made a voice call, but I couldn't be bothered anymore. I pushed him away as he was coming out of the shower and ran to the bathroom. Retching. In the corner of my eye, I saw him pick up his phone and leave the room. His voice was low but filled with anger. I told you not to call me when I'm at home. I don't know how much time had passed. He brought me a glass of warm water. He patted me on the back as I lay in bed. Are you not feeling well? Let me help you up. Drink some water. I pushed his hand away. He moved closer. I used all my strength to push him away. Liam, your phone is too loud. Go sleep in the guest room. From the moment he had walked in, his phone hadn't stopped buzzing. The company has been a little busy lately. I'm sorry. With that, he took his phone and left. On that day, I knew he had been planning to divorce me, but even though I was prepared, When it actually happened, my heart still ached. The doorknob turned a few times. When it wouldn't open, he knocked. Audrey, open the door. I brought you your favorite cake. When I didn't answer, the knocking stopped. His tired voice came from outside. I had no other choice. The next morning, I was woken up by a violent pounding on the door. A familiar, sharp voice. Audrey, open up. I unlocked the door. His mother pushed me aside and went straight for my bed. She threw all my cream-colored bedding on the floor. Still not satisfied, she stomped on it a few times. Then she put on the new red four-piece set she had bought. The color was garishly bright. She had never been happy with my taste in decor. Now she finally had an excuse. I had no energy to argue with her. I went to the dining table for breakfast. He and a strange woman were already sitting there. He was casually sipping his coffee. My mother brought her. I didn't know beforehand. The woman, hearing this, feigned anger. So you didn't want to see me? I wouldn't dare. Their back and forth, like a flirtatious exchange, made me sick to my stomach. Before I could sit down, his mother pushed me aside and took my seat. From now on, you're an outsider. If I don't sign the divorce papers. Liam, am I still an outsider? He frowned and shot his mother a look. She glared at me, then carefully led the woman to the bedroom. He casually introduced the woman to me. Ella, a recent college graduate, a new intern at the company. They had only known each other for 2 months. You should be able to see that I have no feelings for her. No feelings. But you have a child. That's my and your child. I told you. As soon as her baby is born, we'll remarry. You're the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. I had never found this man so disgusting. Liam. A sharp voice came from behind me. His mother rushed up to him. Is that child really yours? He was completely bewildered. When she and Ella were chatting in the bedroom, she had complained that we had been married for 5 years with no children. Ella, to get on her good side, had said that she had only been with him twice, and she had gotten pregnant. Hearing this, her face had changed, and she had come out to confront him. Her tone was aggressive. I'm asking you, how many times were you with her to get her pregnant? He was stunned. He had probably never imagined that his own mother would ask him such a question. Twice, Ella said in a low voice. Seeing that he didn't deny it, his mother's face contorted, and she slapped her. Get out of my house, and don't you ever come near my son again. Throughout the ordeal, he hadn't said a single word in her defense, even when she had shot him pleading looks. Finally, her heart broke. You're not getting this child. You think you're worthy of carrying a Hayes child. That's enough. Mom, stop it. He was not surprised by his mother's sudden change of heart. She looked at him, about to say more, but then she just shook her head, trembling with anger. When she had calmed down, she sat down next to me and took my hands. She called me Audrey, in a sweet, gentle voice. He was a fool. We're not getting a divorce. I glanced at her, the long, thin object in her pocket. It was the pregnancy test I had deliberately left by the toilet in the bathroom. The 2 lines were the reason for her sudden change of heart. Mom, you should stay out of our business. Shut up. Don't you know Audrey is pregnant? She placed the pregnancy test in front of him. He looked at me, surprised, as if waiting for me to give him an answer. I nodded at him. Congratulations. You're going to be a father again. I placed the divorce papers Chloe had drafted in front of him. But we're still getting a divorce. And you're leaving with nothing. That way, the baby will be born. His expression went from shock to suspicion. I knew what he was suspecting. He must have been wondering how he could have a child. After all, he had severe oligospermia. The chances of me getting pregnant naturally were extremely low. I had only found that out a few days ago. After accepting his and Ella's affair, it was as if a light had been switched on in my head. I had started to remember things. The medical report from our check-up 3 years ago. His mother had given it to me. That day she had come to our house. And the moment she saw me, she had thrown the report in my face. The sharp edge of the paper had cut my right cheek. What a disgrace. How could he have married a woman like you? My heart had clenched. I had picked up the report. The result, difficulty conceiving, was a thunderbolt. Looking at his mother, who was crying and wailing, I was at a loss. I had looked at him, who had just come out of the bedroom, hoping he would pull me out of this difficult situation. But he had just taken the report from my hand, glanced at it, and then at me. He had sighed and gone back to his room. He hadn't said anything, but I knew he was blaming me too. For the next month, neither of them had spoken to me. Even when we were in the same room, they would just speak in a dialect I didn't understand. Later, I couldn't take the low pressure anymore and asked for a divorce. I still had deep feelings for him, but I knew he had always wanted children. I had my lawyer draft the papers. I was willing to leave with nothing. I just didn't want to face their silent violence anymore. But when he heard I wanted a divorce, he had acted strangely. "Are you seeing someone else?" I had been bewildered, but out of guilt, I had held my tongue. "After the divorce, you can find another woman to marry, to have children with." He had been silent for a few seconds, then had snatched the divorce papers and torn them to shreds. "You want a divorce? In your dreams." He had held me tightly and whispered in my ear, "I'm sorry." After that, my guilt had deepened. I had complied with all of his mother's unreasonable demands, had tried to please her in every way, but my repeated concessions had not been met with pity or respect, only with more and more demands. "How could you be pregnant with my child?" He had grabbed my hand and demanded, after I had told him he was going to be a father. "Who is that man?" His question had confirmed my suspicions. After realizing that his infertility might have been the problem, I had found our medical reports from 3 years ago and sent them to a friend to have them investigated. A few days ago, I had received a reply. The 2 reports, which I had kept all this time, were fake. They had been photoshopped. He had given me the real reports. I had no abnormalities, but he had severe oligospermia. Looking at his contorted face, I slapped him. After the loud smack, my handprint slowly appeared on his face. "Why couldn't I be pregnant with your child?" He was about to say something. His mother, who had been watching from the side, was angry, but she was also worried about my baby. She swallowed the words she was about to say. She came over to me with a fawning smile. "Having a child is a good thing. We're not getting a divorce." She was not so much talking to me as she was to him. I shook her hand off and was about to leave. I deliberately pulled at my bag with a lot of force, and a medicine bottle fell out. His mother's eyes narrowed. She quickly picked it up and looked at it from all angles. When she saw what it was, she clutched her chest in anger. He, sensing something was wrong, took the bottle from her. He looked at me with fury. "Audrey, what are you doing?" I spread my hands. "I told you, if you don't sign the divorce papers, the baby won't be born. You have one day. I want the signed papers, and I want you out of this house. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that a few pills won't go missing from this bottle." He was so angry his face was red. He looked as if he wanted to eat me. His mother, who had always been so critical of me, now held his hand tightly. "Don't make her angry. She's carrying a Hayes child." After getting in the car, I calmed down. He had been in the business world for so many years. He was as cunning as a fox. I wasn't sure I could fool him with a fake pregnancy, so I had to start with his mother. The pregnancy test I had deliberately left was just the first step. The medicine bottle was to add to the evidence. I knew that he would definitely investigate my social life, but I had a clean record. I had never been alone with another man. I hadn't been to a hospital either, so there were no medical records, even if he was suspicious. With his mother's almost fanatical desire for a grandchild, even a 1% chance would be enough for her to pressure him. I opened my phone and looked at the surveillance footage from the living room. I had just had it installed. He didn't know about it. In the footage, he was slumped on the sofa. His mother was repeatedly poking him in the head. "Look what you've done." "What, Ella? What child? Don't you know your own body?" "Twice. And she's pregnant. You think you're some kind of god. What a disgrace." "I know it's not my child. My and Audrey's divorce is just to get her to take on my debts." I stiffened, turning the volume up, afraid of missing a single word. The factory he had given me, it had actually been losing money for years. To not affect his company's financial data and the investors' evaluation of him, he had hidden it. Going public was his dream. Divorcing me and having me take on the debt was the best solution. Watching him on the monitor, with his "I've got you in the palm of my hand" expression, I couldn't help but clench my fists. His mother hesitated for a moment. "I don't care what you do to Audrey. The baby has to be saved first." "Mom, how can you be so sure the baby is mine? Because this is your only chance." His mother took out a piece of paper. "This is your medical report from yesterday. You have azoospermia now." He took the report and was completely stunned. On my phone, I let out a laugh. Taking advantage of the situation, I took a picture of the medicine bottle and sent it to him. Less than half a minute later, he called, asking to meet. He handed me the flowers he had bought. The restaurant will only have the two of us tonight. We can eat without any worries. The restaurant he had booked was the one where he had proposed to me. At the time, his career was just starting out. He had spent 2 months' salary on that meal. During the meal, he had proposed. That meal, we hadn't been very relaxed. When you're poor, even eating something expensive can be stressful. We're here to talk about the divorce. I reminded him. What if I said I don't want a divorce anymore? Liam, the thing with Ella is over. I won't have any more contact with her. We finally have a child. Can't we just be a happy family? His serious expression. It wasn't a joke, but I found it laughable. You were the one who wanted a divorce. Now you're the one who doesn't. What makes you think I'll just go along with it? What makes you think our relationship can be salvaged? I was wrong about that. I know my mother has been pressuring you about having a child. I don't want you to have to go through that anymore. I told you. As soon as the baby is born, we'll remarry. I can guarantee I have never had any feelings for Ella. I was so angry I could have laughed. Since when had our relationship become so unequal? Was it when I had always chosen him over my own interests? Or was it when I had repeatedly chosen family over my career? The concessions I had made out of love, he had come to see them as a given. He thought that with a divorce and a remarriage, all I had to do was cooperate. I sneered. And the factory. You don't need me to take on your debt anymore. He stiffened. All his previous arrogance gone. How did you? I took a deep breath. I know everything. You don't have to pretend anymore. I hope you can give me the signed divorce papers tomorrow. I got up to leave, but he called out to me. I never really wanted to divorce you. The debt is temporary. As soon as the company goes public, I'll remarry you. His innocent expression. It was as if I were the heartless one. But I really do want a divorce. He looked at me in disbelief. He said, angrily, why? Haven't I been good to you all these years? Have I ever deprived you of anything? Why do you want a divorce? I had never found our relationship so ridiculous. Betrayal and calculation. In his eyes. As long as he was willing to clean up the mess, it was all a part of love. And I, the pawn. I should be grateful to him, the player. I didn't want to beat around the bush anymore, because I don't have any feelings for you anymore. He stiffened, his eyes red, his mouth half open, unable to say a word. After leaving the restaurant, I felt a sense of relief. We had known each other, loved each other for 10 years. It was a lie to say I wasn't disappointed. But my desire for a divorce was also real. So real that I had even fabricated a pregnancy to get it. I had the locks on the house changed. His and his mother's things were also cleared out. For so many years, my nerves had been on edge. Seeing the house without any trace of them, I felt a sense of lightness. I was lying on the bed, relaxed, when Chloe called. The deal is done. Can the acquisition go through in a month? Of course. From the moment I had decided to get a divorce, I had also decided to sell the company. I knew it was his life's work, his dream, but it was never mine. So when I had asked Chloe to draft the papers, I had also asked her to find a buyer for his company. She had a lot of connections in the business world. His company was on the rise, so it would sell for a good price. A sharp ringing of the doorbell. After opening the door, he stormed in. Are you satisfied now? He threw the signed divorce papers on the table. I knew he had been trying to drag out the divorce. So after leaving the restaurant, I had sent his mother a message about my hospital appointment. The moment he got back to the hotel, his mother had had a huge fight with him. My mother is in the hospital now because of you. Do you know that? She said if I don't agree to your divorce, she'll disown me. Are you happy now? His angry face still had a faint handprint on it. There were also scratch marks on his neck, and his shirt, which had been torn, had not been changed. I suppressed a smile. He had never had a father. His mother had raised him on her own. After we got married, his mother had directed all her manipulative tactics at me, so he had always been oblivious to my pain. Sometimes he had even thought I was being difficult with his mother. Now that the tables were turned, he was feeling the pain too. I picked up the divorce papers and carefully reviewed them. He stared at me. Audrey, did you ever even love me? How could you be so cruel? My brow furrowed. When it comes to cruelty, I'm not even a tenth of you. He was silent. As he was leaving, he suddenly looked up and asked, "We're going to remarry, right?" I sneered and slammed the door. Outside the window, he stumbled, muttering to himself, "How ridiculous. A child actually bought my future and my 7 years of hard work to get the divorce certificate in a month." I gave the papers to Chloe for safekeeping. I packed my bags and took an overnight flight abroad. There was a very promising fashion brand abroad that was on the verge of bankruptcy due to a broken capital chain. My previous major and work experience were all related to the fashion industry, and I had always had a great interest in it. A few days ago, I had contacted their founder and made an offer to acquire the brand. The moment I got off the plane, I saw my ride. He was a friend of Chloe's and had a small, well-known law firm here. He was my legal advisor for this acquisition. He took me to my hotel and helped me check in. The next morning, he came to see me to finalize the acquisition plan. After a week of discussion, I reached an agreement with the brand. The acquisition would be finalized in a month. Just after I had signed the agreement, he called me. It was the middle of the night back home. After a moment's hesitation, I answered, "Audrey, today is our wedding anniversary. I brought you flowers and a cake. But the person who opened the door said you've already sold the house. Why didn't you tell me?" The villa was in my name only, so the day I had asked for a divorce, I had also contacted a real estate agent to sell it. Because I was in a hurry, I had sold it below market value, so I had found a buyer on the same day. The day after I had left for abroad, the buyer had moved in. "It's my house. I didn't want to live there anymore. Is there a problem with me selling it?" "That's not what I meant. Forget the wedding anniversary. You should get ready. From now on, you can celebrate your divorce anniversary." I hung up. My phone was still buzzing. I blocked him and then turned it off. My ride pulled up. I saw my angry face in the rearview mirror. "Did you have a fight?" "An ex-husband doesn't count." He chuckled. I figured. No offense. I've seen many women who suddenly decide to start a new career or go back to school. And most of them are because they're trying to get out of an unhealthy marriage. I nodded in agreement. "Congratulations," he said, handing me a chocolate bar. "We probably won't be able to eat until tonight." Besides the acquisition, I had another task on this trip. A few months ago, on a whim, I had sent my design portfolio to a school here. I had never given up on my dream of fashion design. A month ago, I had received an offer to study here. I had been looking for the right time to tell him. But before I could, I had found out he was planning to divorce me. The school was about to start. I wanted to buy a house near the school. He was about to take me to look at some properties. That night, I got back to the hotel and collapsed onto the bed. I had been very lucky. I had found the house I wanted at a reasonable price. Ever since I had separated from him, my life had been going so smoothly. I even started to suspect that he had been sucking away all my luck all these years. Just as I was mentally cursing him, my phone vibrated. An unknown number. I answered. It was him. "Audrey, our mom is picking out clothes for our baby. What color do you think we should get?" "Whatever. It's not like he'll ever get to wear them. I bought you your favorite vase at an auction. Where are you? I'll bring it to you." At the words, auction, and vase, I shot up from the bed. All my drowsiness gone. "Liam, you'd better be clear. You're spending my money." There was a moment of silence on the other end. His mother took the phone. "Audrey, don't be upset. I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it. Then you can transfer the money to my account. The vase is yours." I slammed the phone down. Less than a minute later, I received a notification of a large deposit into my bank account. My heart was finally at ease. What vase? Money in hand was what mattered. A moment later, Chloe called to ask if everything was going well. She had been keeping a close eye on him for me. She said he had been meeting with other entrepreneurs in the industry lately, trying to get investment. To start over, he was also planning on taking the core employees of the company with him. "But don't worry, he won't succeed," she said with certainty. "So sure. Of course. The boss he's been talking to is the one who's partnering with you to acquire his company." I burst out laughing. With his luck, it's not impossible that he's been sucking away my luck all these years. You just focus on your own things. Come back on time to get the divorce certificate. "Okay," I said, and ended the call. I lay in bed, feeling as if I had been reborn. The day I got the divorce certificate, I flew back. I went straight from the airport to the Civil Affairs Bureau. As we were waiting in line, a young couple who was there to get their marriage certificate asked him to take a picture for them. The moment he raised the phone, I saw the wedding ring on his finger. After taking the picture, he sat back down. I saw his rimmed eyes. "Do you remember the day we got our marriage certificate?" he asked me. I was scrolling through my phone and said, nonchalantly, "Yes. That day, we were at the door of the Civil Affairs Bureau, and you said you had forgotten your ID. At that moment, my heart was about to break. I thought you were doing it on purpose, that you didn't want to marry me." At his words, I remembered. It had been snowing heavily that day. He had told me to wait at the Civil Affairs Bureau while he went back home to get my ID. When he came back, he was out of breath, his nose red, because of the traffic. He was afraid the Civil Affairs Bureau would close before he got back, and he was afraid I would change my mind. So he had run for over an hour. When he took off his down jacket to take the picture, his shirt was soaked with sweat. After all the procedures were done and the staff handed him the marriage certificate, his hands were shaking so much. In the end, I was the one who had to take it. The window showed that it was our turn to get the divorce. I stood up, but he grabbed my wrist. "Can't we not get a divorce?" I shook his hand off. "No." He let out a helpless, bitter smile. After getting the divorce certificate, I was so happy. As we were leaving, I called out to him. "Do you want to remarry?" he asked, his eyes full of hope. I pointed to his ring finger. "My property. You have to give it back." He let out a bitter smile and helplessly took off the ring. I snatched it and, in front of him, threw it into a nearby trash can. "Audrey, what are you doing?" "Disposing of my property." I pushed him out of the way and got into the car that Chloe had come to pick me up in. In the rearview mirror, I saw him frantically roll up his sleeves and stick his hand into the trash can. Chloe clicked her tongue. "Isn't he a germaphobe? A divorce. And now he's a dumpster diver." I stretched. "Who knows?" She handed me the acquisition contract. While I was gone, she had taken care of most of the business in the country. All I had to do was to get his company and then sign the contract with the acquiring party. After taking care of business, I booked the earliest flight. As I was boarding, he called me. He was roaring on the other end. "Audrey, what's going on with my company?" I held the phone away from my ear, disgusted. The man in his suit next to me was wearing headphones and watching a video on his phone. He suddenly exclaimed, "Wow." I glanced over and saw that it was a video of his company being acquired. When I was signing the contract, I had made one request, that the acquiring party release the news at the time of my flight. He was screaming on the other end, demanding an explanation. "Do you know how many years of my life I put into that? It was my dream since I was a child. You just destroyed it." "I know, but it wasn't my dream. I just wanted to get a good price for it." "Is there a problem with that?" I was not familiar with his company's business, nor was I interested. Instead of wasting the employees' efforts, it was more sensible to hand it over to a professional. Besides, I needed the money to acquire the fashion brand. I have my own dreams to achieve. It's been delayed for long enough. Dreams. Doodling is a dream. Don't be ridiculous. What are you yelling about? Don't scare my grandson. A sharp smack came through the phone. "Mom, I have nothing now." He was on the verge of a breakdown, just roaring senselessly. "Nothing is more important than your grandson. You too." I couldn't help but laugh. "Auntie, how could your son have a child?" Her voice instantly rose. "What do you mean?" It was too shrill. I just hung up, took out my SIM card, and threw it in the trash. I successfully acquired the fashion brand. I was living a life of attending classes during the day and managing the company at night. Though I was exhausted, I had never felt so fulfilled. With the new funding, the brand quickly recovered. At one fashion competition after another, the young designers I had cultivated won major awards. The brand's reputation grew, and I officially joined the design team. The next time I heard about him was when Chloe came to visit me on vacation. She mentioned that after I had left, his mother had been so angry she had ended up in the hospital and had almost not made it. And he and Ella's affair had been exposed. And he had hidden the true financial data from the investors. He was ostracized by the industry. Later, he had tried to use his mother's money to make a comeback, investing everything in the stock market. A few days later, the market crashed. He didn't believe it and borrowed money from everywhere to double down. In the end, he lost everything. He had to go back to his hometown with his mother. Chloe handed me her phone. It was a picture of him. Someone saw him. He's gone crazy. His mother is chasing after him, trying to feed him some kind of potion. In the picture, he was emaciated, his hair covering his eyes, a crazed smile on his face.